What's up, and welcome back to 1331. I'm your host, Mr. Ripper, and as always, I have my lovely co-host here to help me, the one, the only, Todd of Thunder.
Hey, what's up?
And the mistress of the monsters, Lana.
Hey, my little monsters.
And we're back with our first review of 2025 with Mr. Lee Wynell's modern spin on a classic tale, as you know it, The Wolfman. Without the, just Wolfman. Before we start diving into pros and cons and everything, just a heads up with this episode, we're diving into spoilers. If you want to watch this movie, I would suggest you watch it before you listen to the rest of this podcast.
Yeah, before we cross over into spoiler territory, the reason that we're doing that this episode is because we want to be really authentic in what our experience was in the theater. And if we think that something is genuinely not worth your time or your money, we're going to let you know that.
100%. And this is falling into that category. Now, we'll talk a little bit before going into spoilers. I'm not going to give you, any cues or anything. So just be warned, this is going to jump into it. Mr. Thunder, what is your initial, takeaway coming out?
I took away that I did not like this.
Lazy writing, right?
Yep. And when we go into our positives, negatives, I can get into more detail, but my overall opinion is I did not enjoy this at all.
Miss Lana?
I 100% agree. We had talked about, both of us at one point thought about getting up and leaving.
Oh yeah, I was definitely right there. And that would be a trifecta effect because I'm right here on board with the other two lovely people. Just like most of the reviews I've heard from Spook House and Cody Leach on YouTube, they didn't like this movie. They were fans of The Invisible Man, which I wasn't a fan of, and
I wasn't either.
And I was very hesitant going into this one also, but I guess the pros and cons of this movie, I don't even know. The pros, I guess?
I have one pro. I can go ahead and get
Lay
it out
it
of the
on
way.
us.
And that was the sound effects I liked in the film, and the sound design I liked in the film. That's it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I dug that one. I liked they had some pretty decent practical effects in it. I did like that. Mm-hmm. It would have been nice if they would have did a full transformation because they were on point to making that pretty awesome. And then it's like, we ran out of money. I don't think that's what happened. I think that was the result we got is what he wanted. But other than sound design and practical effects, I don't know what else I would be able to give it a pro. What about you, Lana?
Well, I can't say this for the whole movie, but there were moments where the cinematography was really good and we had a very beautiful landscape. I will say it wasn't the whole movie, it wasn't even the majority of the movie, but when it was good, it was good.
That's few and far between. Personally, I didn't like anything about this movie. It was too dark. If you are a fan of AVP Requiem, cool. You're going to love this movie.
Yeah. This is AVP Rectum.
Wolfman wrecked him. Damn near killed him.
Oh, wow.
But the thing that bothers me is that I know they had good shots in the movie, like the open mountain scene.
Right.
The beginning of the movie was shot very well.
Right, like the first 15.
Yeah, the first 15 minutes was probably the best part of this movie.
Yeah, it felt like they did not do basic film magic with this. Yeah, we get it. We're in the woods. We don't need to really feel like we're in the goddamn woods at night. Use movie lights. Show me something.
Right.
I get trying to be authentic and stuff like that, but you're also making a movie and you want people to watch it.
And you can have something dark and moody, but still be able to see it.
Right.
Nosferatu, for example.
Yeah. And I felt like a lot of the scares in this film was halted by the lack of light. Mm-hmm. There's a couple scenes where, it's very few gore scenes in the film, but the gore scenes that's in the film, you just have to fucking pretend, honestly. I mean, it's like you see it, but you don't see it. And it's like, Jesus, somebody fucking pay the bills and turn the lights on.
Yeah, the dark parts went on way too long. You could have done it briefly for a good jump scare if you would have planned it right. You could have had a really awesome jump scare. It got me one time. I'm going to be honest with you, audience. And that's because I fell asleep.
And it was a loud noise.
A loud noise. Made me jump.
Your jump made me jump, not the actual scene.
And that's really sad. You
It
know?
is.
It's sad because, I mean, you have this tension being built up by a pretty amazing scorer, and you just can't match the scares with it because A, you can't see it, and B, it's pretty underwhelming when it does happen. I'm starting to think to myself, even if we did see it, it would still probably be underwhelming because of, we'll dive into what these fuckers look like.
The dad part of it, you were supposed to not like this guy. I mean, and I don't think he was like really likable, but he was taking his son hunting in the beginning and trying to show him how to protect himself and, you know, kill and fend for himself. And the boy didn't listen.
Right. Potentially put himself in danger.
Yeah, he could have killed himself. I mean, his boy had a loaded gun with him.
Right.
So to me, that was just a dad being protective.
I do feel like he was a little overbearing, a little like a hard ass, like a hard ass.
Right.
But I didn't see it pushing the boundary of abusive or anything like that to the point where his son would just get up and leave and not come back to
For
see his
30 years.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I'm supposed to feel something, but I don't. I don't give a fuck about nobody in this movie.
No, that was going to be my next thing I dive into.
Right.
I understand that he's trying to teach him to be a man and everything, but at the end of this film, I didn't feel like it went full circle with anything, so waste of time.
Yeah.
It was. You could have done so much with the storyline. If they were going to spend 15 minutes on it, they could have given us like what happened to his mom.
Right.
And that's why he's so protective of the child. And come to find out, maybe within the first 15 minutes or something, like the reason why his dad's so protective of him is because his mother was killed by one of these werewolves.
Right.
There was ways, and then you'd be like, oh, that's why he's overprotective. He doesn't want that to happen to his son. You could have had some altercation where he leaves and then, 30 years later he comes back. But for some reason, he hated his dad to the point where he left for 30 years. And then when his dad dies, hey, let's take a vacation. Our marriage is shit. And we're going to go pack his stuff up. It's going to be great. It's a beautiful view. What?
Yeah.
Right.
You fucking kidding me?
Well, you said it.
Go
You
ahead.
said it earlier that it was lazy writing. And to me, what I find surprising about that is Lee Wynell was a part of Insidious and Saw, but he's been a part of writing
Yeah.
really good scripts.
Everything good that he's ever done, he's been a writer.
Right.
This is his fourth movie that he's directed. And I have seen all four, well, three of them. I have not seen this movie called Upgrade that he did, but the other one was Invisible Man, like you mentioned earlier. It was Insidious 3 was his directorial debut, and this movie makes 4. And Insidious 3 was pretty decent, but it was already,
Established.
he wrote the whole thing, which is cool, but he came in on the third chapter to direct it, so it's not like he can fuck it up too much. But these Universal remakes that he's done has been dog shit to me.
Actually, I don't like anything he's really done by himself. I think him and Juan together make pretty good magic.
Him
Maybe
as a
that's what it
writer
is.
and Juan as a director are a hell of a team. Him on his own, it's like you go to fart and you shit a little bit.
Maybe James actually is the mastermind who's changing the shit that he puts on the table.
Maybe.
I just think he's a shitty director.
But he wrote
James
this, too.
Wan
No,
or-
no.
Lee.
Yeah,
James
Lee.
Wan is amazing. He's one of the best modern day filmmakers, in my opinion.
Am I
Yeah, he's
wrong,
up
or
there.
did he direct and write Wolfman?
Yes.
Lee did, yeah. So
He directed, wrote, and produced. All of this was
crazy.
him.
And it was dog shit.
I'm still pondering why people loved Invisible Man, and I guess people loved that one. They were looking forward to this one. Guess if you loved Invisible Man, you might like this one a little bit. We hated Invisible Man, and that kind of carried on to this film, and I don't want to see anything this guy directs ever again.
Well, Miss Lana, you liked Invisible Man.
I did like Invisible Man, but I absolutely hated this movie.
So
Like, do not want to see it again.
I guess the best thing to do is ask somebody that liked it. So Invisible Man versus this, what was the difference for you?
To me, Invisible Man, it was still kind of a slow burn, but I liked the story more. You know, I will say I really liked Invisible Man. I didn't love it. I'm not like an Invisible Man stan, but I had a good time with it. A huge part to me is the acting was better to me in Invisible Man. The acting in Wolfman was awful, which is confusing to me because I haven't seen Ozark for myself, but I've heard that our main leading lady, the wife, was in Ozark and people loved her in that. But what we see in her in this film is nothing in comparison. And she was so not believable in her character.
She wasn't at all. I didn't feel like they were married.
Right.
Honestly.
There was no love there.
No, there was no love there.
There was no reason to like root for her and want to see her win and succeed and survive.
As far as the father-daughter situation goes, it was good. And then it got to the point where I love you. You know, I love you.
Yeah.
You know, I love you, right? I love you. I do this because I love you.
They really beat you over the head with this because once he turns into the Wolfman, they want you to like really feel some type of emotion. And it fell flat to me. It fell really, really flat to me.
Right.
And I understand what he was trying to do with this. The daughter-father relationship was a lot closer than the mother and daughter. So by the end of the film, the father turning into the Wolfman, meaning the daughter and the mother are supposed to come together, so to speak, and maybe bond over this horrific event. But yeah, they were fucking stupid. At one time, the son of a bitch, as the Wolfman, walks out of the house and then tries to claw and get back in. This movie was fucking dumb.
Jumping back to when he yelled at his daughter, this was like within the first 20 minutes. It was after the sequence with him and his father, and she wouldn't listen to him, and she was like playing on this like cinder block, trying to like follow the line and balance herself, and she wouldn't listen. And then I don't think he really got that loud, and he's like, get down. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh my God, you raised your voice at me. Some sensitive bullshit, but it was too soon. You didn't build up to the point of breaking. I think what they were trying to do is show that there's something in him.
Like his father.
Maybe like his father, maybe like this inner beast type character, but it fucking falls flat. And then like 5 minutes later, he's in the kitchen cooking dinner, and his wife is being a fucking annoying cunt on the fucking phone, talking to her job or whatever. And he politely says, hey, I believe he even said, please, hey, please, can you go in the other room and handle that? And then
She
after that,
ignores him.
yeah, she completely ignores him. And then she hangs up the phone. Can you not talk to me like that? Or some shit like that. I forgot exactly what she said. I could understand if he was like, hey, get off the fucking phone. Or, you know,
Right.
something aggressive, something to show you that maybe there's something more there. But it's not. She comes off looking like the villain. Like
Right.
the bad person. Like, who wants to root for this person? Who thinks that she's a good mother? You clearly show us that she's not that great of a person.
Right.
And at one point, that she really doesn't want to and know how to be a mother.
That's so confusing to me because if you wanted us to root for her as a character, make them an extremely loving family all around.
Yes.
Show the love between the husband and wife so that when this happens, it pulls on our heartstrings.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, you could have had that dynamic where, hey, I'm not going to treat my family like my father treated me. I'm not going
Right.
to be hard on my family. We're going to be sweet to one another, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no.
You get the complete opposite.
Yeah, you get the complete opposite. And I'm with you guys. I've already been on record saying I didn't like anybody in this cast. And so I'm trying to justify anything that I kind of liked. And nope, I can't do it. Go ahead.
No, I can't really get behind bad dialogue, bad acting. The story just falls apart. I think when his dad was on the CB radio when he was a kid, it showed the tattoo on his arm.
I think so. It did in that first sequence. I can't remember exactly, but you might be right. When he was on the radios, when they might have showed it.
It was very brief. If you blinked, you would have missed it. Anyway, I'll get to the point of the tattoo here in a moment. So they wreck, and the truck falls and gets stuck in the trees like Jurassic Park style. And they got to get out, and then this big fucking werewolf comes along.
Supposedly, I couldn't see anything.
Supposedly.
I mean-
One of the guys that was helping him falls out, the werewolf. Somehow they fucked this scene up. So when he falls out and falls to the ground and he's laying there, and then it cuts back to the main guy, and you see the horrified look and you hear the whick, whick, whick noise, and it cuts back to the guy and his stomach's ripped open, then he pulls him.
Mm-hmm.
Why the fuck? Why didn't they just do like him looking down and then cut back up the man and look back down? The guy's like, help. No cut or anything. And then that's when you see the whoosh and pulls him.
Right.
It would have had way more effect. It was wasted.
Well, and then we get to the point where our main character supposedly gets scratched by the wolf, which
I didn't see a hand scratching.
I didn't see a goddamn thing except a window get broken.
I saw the paw come in, like break the glass. And then they show him look at his arm and he's got a cut. I assumed it was glass. I didn't realize till later that it was the wolf.
You're better eyes than me. I didn't even see a paw come in. I just saw a fucking glass go, and he went, ah!
I think that was intentional, that he wanted you to think that it was the glass.
Maybe.
Later
Anyway.
on in the film, we see his arm, and it looks like it looks like a goddamn big ass chunk comes out, and it's constantly bleeding. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, goddamn, if it's that bad, how come we haven't noticed it until now?
Right.
Later on, when they get to the house after they run from this thing, which they immediately lock eyes on this thing. They know it's some kind of big creature. They don't know. They don't know. There's
Sorry, I'm just thinking about that one dialogue where she goes, "What the fuck was that?" And he goes, "I don't know. I think it was an animal." It's like, no shit, you dumb fuck.
That's the dialogue we have in this
That
movie.
is the dialogue. I'm sorry, I just thought of that.
With it, they're in the house. All of a sudden, this infection almost immediately takes place. There's no slow turn like I thought it was going to be. And him boarding up the house, I don't know if you noticed, but he only boarded up one fucking thing. And that was the main fucking door.
Yep.
Yeah,
And the whole time the dad was trying to get in and he couldn't figure it out. When he turned into a werewolf, he went straight up, hopped on the fucking roof of the house and broke in through the window.
Right.
What?
Yeah, this whole thing mainly takes place at this house, isolated house, much like an Evil Dead cabin in the woods type of deal. And you have a greenhouse and a barn, and that's pretty much it. Both of these things were used, but to the poorest extent possible.
Which didn't make sense.
The reason that I just had a moment, I forgot about the freaking greenhouse.
Yeah, where the werewolf is literally jumping, like, what are you, 20 feet in the fucking air.
No.
No,
That was what pissed me off. Is the greenhouse was shorter. It was probably like maybe 8 to 10 feet above
Right.
ground.
And the werewolf's jumping up there, like,
Barely scratching it.
scratching it. My thing is, why was the werewolf inside the greenhouse jumping up, scratching it, when he could have just walked out of the greenhouse and jumped up on the top up there with him?
Right.
And the fact he was jumping 25 feet to the truck that was suspended in the air.
Right.
Right. And then we get to the barn scene, right? We get to this point. They do this thing in the film where we're seeing a werewolf point of view, and he's like right in front of them, and the barn is dark. He can see them. They can't see him. And we're seeing it from his point of view. He can see everything in this barn, and he still steps on the goddamn trap.
Right.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
The characters can't see a goddamn thing. The thing that can see everything is the one that hits the trap. Like, not like, wouldn't it have been more cool or more dreadful or more suspense if the mom might have got caught in the trap?
Right.
100%.
Because you
agreed.
know, she can't see it. In addition to these things looking stupid, in addition to this whole thing looking stupid, I think that this is probably the dumbest werewolves I've ever seen in my life, too.
If you want to call them werewolves, yeah.
Well, you know,
They're dog mans.
yeah,
They're
they're
dog
dog
man.
mans. Their regular teeth started to fall out, but then they really didn't have any menacing teeth in its place.
It's like when you were a kid and you got those vampire teeth and you put them in your mouth.
Yeah.
And then and you talked and you looked really funny, but the teeth were not really scary, but you felt like you looked scary.
Yeah.
That's how it came off.
And then, he gets his foot caught in the trap.
Nom 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 nom.
I guess it's a fucking callback to the original Saw when he cut his fucking foot off.
But my thing is, they have superhuman strength, right?
Right. They could easily break a goddamn trap like that.
Good point. Thing that pissed me off is that he grabs the goddamn trap
And he's like, he
and
couldn't do
can't
it. Yeah.
wedge it. But you can rip through fucking cars and jump 20, 30 feet in the air and do all this fucking damage and stuff, but you can't take a bear trap and pry it open. I could understand if maybe his animal instincts were taken over and he couldn't logically think to grab it and pull it. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's not thinking like a human. He's thinking like an animal.
Right.
Makes sense. That would make sense. Don't have him grab the goddamn thing and like, oh, I can't open this jar of mayonnaise.
Well,
I'm just going to break it.
That's another thing that really bothered me in this film is that his animal instincts conveniently took over when it was necessary, but he still stopped and stared at him when a real animal would have just attacked him.
Right.
But like you said, he gets his foot caught and all of a sudden he don't know what the fuck to do. Right?
Right.
It's like it was only taken over when it was convenient for the scene. Yeah.
There was no smart writing in this. I felt stupid watching this movie, and I hate saying that. I hate knocking that, and I hate to be the person to say, I feel like I could have wrote a better movie. And I do. I don't know what happened with this guy. If I didn't know going into this blind and watch this movie and you would have said that this was the same guy behind Saw, mm-hmm. I would have told you to go fuck off. Piss up a rope. Yeah, because you're lying to me. I wouldn't believe it. And for the audience out there, you're going to hear me say something. As far as The Invisible Man goes, I give that a 5 out of 5 compared to this movie.
I agree with you. I don't like Invisible Man, but I would rather watch that than this, honestly. This movie...
He got the suspense right in Invisible Man, at least.
He had an opportunity to make this a simple, straightforward, just tension-filled werewolf movie. And he just fucked up on it, in my opinion. I mean,
he screwed the pooch.
And, for the listeners out there, you guys know that I love atmospheric and isolated films.
Right.
And this met that criteria.
But didn't feel like it.
Oh, my God. This is like, it's like making a peanut butter sandwich and you realize it's only like one scoop left in the fucking jar. And you can only do half slice of bread.
That's kind of fair. To me, it feels like making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and you put bologna and mustard on it and call it a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me. Here's your PB&J. It's bologna and mustard on this.
Pretend
get what you
get.
You get what you get and you don't throw a fit, son.
Use your imagination.
And that's what some people are going to do with this film. Or they're going to pretend like this peanut butter and jelly sandwich is a big juicy steak and it's not.
Last and hopefully least, we have to talk about the ultimate thing that werewolf lovers like myself are drawn to with werewolf movies. Is the werewolf. What does it look like? Did they nail it? Did they get that part of the movie right? No, they didn't. It looks like they stopped mid-transformation.
I told you what I thought they look like. They look like fucking human leprechaun hybrids.
Hillbillies living up in the mountains.
It's like Mr. Mackey from fucking South Park with no shirt, really big head, and a lot of body hair. Honestly, Todd could have been a better werewolf for this movie.
Well, I have never
He's
seen.
halfway there.
Well, fuck you both. First of all, and
you have good teeth. Don't worry.
Because I'm a man.
I'm a man.
I'm a man. God damn it. Anyway, I have never seen werewolves
Hairy man.
lose hair.
Yeah.
Like literally, he
true.
became a werewolf and he lost hair. He was a balding
was like
werewolf.
a cancer patient.
Yes.
He literally did what grown men go through. He lost the hair on his head and grew it on his body.
I mean, he went from like 40 years old to like 82.
Real fast. He was like Hulk Hogan with that hairline, man. He was, I'm coming after you, brother. You're gonna get it, dude.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all, and there was not a real.
American.
Well, no, there wasn't a real shot of the claws and stuff.
The only close up we got is when it was his hand and the claws were coming out of his fingers. Very poor excuse for body horror, honestly.
Fuck that. Nah, this doesn't come close. This was. Ugh.
It wasn't good.
I don't like it. Fuck this.
You know, the teeth falling off. Him biting at
His own self.
Oh,
That didn't make any sense to me. Biting your way out of the trap, I can understand, because when animals are trapped, they do that. Like, that's a real thing.
Right.
If you trap a wolf, he'll eat his own leg off to get out of the trap. That's real. Now, as far as the wound goes, I know that they'll lick it and coddle it and try to take care of it, but I've never seen an animal just
chew.
right into the bitch. Mm-mm. That to me was just like, oh, this will get the audience with a why?
It's just a head turner for what reason?
Lazy writing.
Yeah. At some point, don't it hurt?
Right. Even though you're
I
an
mean-
animal, animals still feel pain.
Like, if you can bite your own fucking shit off,
Why did his head get bigger?
I don't know.
His head got bigger in his transformation. His body got smaller. He got more body hair, but his head got bigger. The silhouette looked stupid. It was nothing menacing
His
about.
body didn't grow with his head.
Right. Like he's
you
on the ground like popping and cracking, and like he even grabs his jaw and like pops it to make it look like he's in transformation. And it's like the scene from Hubie Halloween when the guy said he's a werewolf and he turns into a werewolf, but he didn't turn into a werewolf. I mean, overall, it just wasn't good.
Didn't like it.
It, to me, is a smack in the face of any werewolf movie I've ever seen. I know he might have wanted to do a more realistic approach, but you can't go but so realistic on something that's fantasy.
Right.
Yeah.
The most realistic part of it is making it a disease. Like, when you turn into the werewolf, it's a permanent thing. Cool. I can get behind that. There's no transformation. The transformation is a one and done thing, and it didn't build that correctly.
Yeah.
He looked so much more like Sasquatch or Bigfoot than he did a werewolf.
Yeah, he really did have that Sasquatch. Well, especially when they go to like swerve and miss him, it looked like Bigfoot walking in the road.
Right.
But then when we see his dad, he's not that tall.
Right.
It's
hard to explain what he looks like.
The physics are just fucking off in this movie. Mm-hmm. You're right. It's off because
It's stupid.
his legs were like really like hairy, like a werewolf. The bottom half was starting to look like a werewolf.
Right.
And the top half really wasn't there. My theory was, okay, maybe it's a slow thing, but his dad was gone for what, months or something like that?
It was, yeah.
A long time.
He was gone enough to legally be considered dead.
Right.
Right.
And that's got to be a while.
And when we see him, he's Hulk Hogan, the hair on the head, and the emaciated looking man wolf, whatever the fuck you want to call
Dog
it.
man.
There's a lot of scenes in this film where the dialogue did not match what we saw. Mm-hmm. When he's describing what he saw in the middle of the road, he's like, I don't know what that animal was. It was this and it was that, and it was like, from what I remember, it looked like a fucking man walking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
100%. But as always, we give you the reviews before we give you our reviews. Over at IGN, our lovely gaming network that loves to tell us about horror movies, they give it a 6 out of 10.
Go back to gaming.
yeah,
100% agreed. Now over at IMDb, as I like to say, they give this a 6 out of 10. Right.
I wish y'all could see my face. My eyes were real wide.
Very wide, like Undertaker coming back from the dead. A lot of wrestling references on this one. Now, over at the Tomatoes That Are Rotten, the popcorn meter is at 58%, which is pretty low. It's pretty low. And the tomato meter is at 52%.
Wow.
How do y'all feel about that?
Don't agree.
I feel like as the film goes into its second week of being out, and if there is more reviews, I feel like it's going to go down.
Well, I'll throw this in real quick. The Google Audience Review summary is at 3 out of 5.
No. To me, this
That's a no for
I
me,
mean,
dog.
3 out of 5 is middle of the road. This is not middle of the road for me.
No, I'm not going to dive into the comments. As always, Lana, what do you give the first movie of 2025 that Blumhouse presented us again with the first movie of the year?
It's a 2.
2. To 2.
You know that I really have to not like a movie to give it below a 3.
I know. She gives 5s away like Oprah Winfrey.
Starting the year off with a dose.
Dose. This movie is a dose.
It's a deuce.
A deuce. Thunder. What do you give the movie?
Well, speaking of deuce, I'm giving it a 2 as well. I immediately thought of a 2. The positives were the music, the score, and I like the fact that we saw the other side of the werewolf point of view. It wasn't used nearly enough as it could have been. Besides that, everything in this movie, no pun intended, dog shit.
Well, I'm not going to waste any more time. Everybody knows me. I'm the very critical one, as always. And I give this movie a 1.
A 1.
A 1.
Wow.
This movie sucks shit in so many ways that it ain't even funny. The thing that could have saved it for me is the ultimate transformation, which is what was presented to
Able to
us.
see it anyway.
You wouldn't be able to see it anyway, so it doesn't fucking matter. The movie in its entirety just fucking sucks.
You know what this movie is? It's like trying to jerk off to somebody being undressed in the dark.
What an analogy. Yeah, the score was digging to find something good. The practical effects, hats off to you. That's what bumped it up from a 0.5 star for me, is the practical effects, and I thought it looked good. The rest of it just dog shit, pun intended. But if you do get a moment, stop by over at our social medias, our medias that are social. You can find us at 1331 Horrorcast across all platforms. That's including Facebook, Instagram, the once banned TikTok that is now back from the dead, and YouTube. We told you we've been working on it, so we finally got the YouTube channel up, and slowly but surely we will be releasing video content. Maybe you'll have to go see the YouTube and see what's there and not here, or here and not there. Who knows? But I know I don't want to watch this fucking movie anymore. But as always, thank you for tuning in. I'm JT Ripper.
And I'm Todd of Thunder saying toodaloo.
Bye, my little monsters.
Stay spooky. And this movie sucks. Please, if you're still listening to this, please don't go watch this movie. It's fucking terrible.
Same
Love
time.
you. Same time, same place. Love you.